Jesse Tucker, the Leafs agitator, is the perfect example of a player that other teams hate to play against. His tactics often cause opposing players and coaches to volunteer criticism.
It's unfortunate we had to be done in by a cheap shot late in the game by Tucker. That's a joke. I want him suspended. I want him fined. That's a joke. That's an absolute joke is what it is.
At number 9, Brian Marchment. He was never one to shy away from controversial hits.
There's no need for Marchment to hit that low.
Marchment was known to go knee on occasion, ending Joe Nieuwendyke's 1998 playoffs by taking his leg out. At number 8, Esa Tikkanen won 3 Stanley Cups with the Oilers and added another with the Rangers in '94. The Helsinki native's abrasive style paved the way for future Finns, such as Jarkko Ruutu. Always a player that played on the edge, Dale Hunter spent 20 years in the NHL, but will most notably be remembered for drilling Pierre Turgeon from behind in the 1993 playoffs, well after Turgeon had scored the series-winning goal.
I'm disgusted at the play. I think that I've lost a tremendous amount of respect for that organization and that player, and there's no time in the league for a player like that.
I never had to go looking for trouble. It just kind of was there.
Ken Lindsman broke into the NHL with the Philadelphia Flyers in 1978. Lindsman quickly earned a reputation as a troublemaker, so much so that Bobby Clarke nicknamed him the Rat, a moniker that stuck his entire career. Darius Kasparaitis made his mark immediately upon entering the NHL. Kasparaitis was a thorn in Mario Lemieux's side throughout the Islanders' 1993 playoff upset of the defending champion Penguins, and he has always loved the challenge of getting under the skin of the game's top forwards. At number 4, Ulf Samuelsson. Despite his tactics that made him an enemy around the NHL, local fans and media embraced the Swede as a folk hero. However, he's best remembered and most vilified for his knee-on-knee hit on Cam Neely of the Bruins in the 1991 playoffs.
Take a look at the replay. I mean, I could have blown my knee out and been out for the rest of the year or even longer.
Throughout his career, Matthew Barnaby could be both the team's most popular player and its most despised. He was an agitator in every sense of the word.
He could fight with his lips. He'd be the heavyweight champion of the world.
At number 2, Claude Lemieux, a classic case of a player hated around the league except for the team he played for. He might have won 4 Stanley Cup titles, but he is known for perhaps starting one of the biggest rivalries in hockey.
You know, I just don't understand how they can keep letting this guy get away with it.
I can't believe I shook this guy's friggin' hand after the game. That pisses me right off.
Call it tactics, call it antics. This is unbelievable. I've never seen anything like this.
Throughout his career, he's been known for his antics on the ice, his famous girlfriends, and his often outrageous quotes.
Everyone talks about how unclassy I am, and Fatso there just forgot to shake my hand, I guess.
His over-the-top ways were too much for the Stars to handle this season, as Avery was eventually kicked off the team.
Gives us a brief history of the ugliest on-ice behavior.
Todd Bertuzzi after Steve Moore. Grabs his sweater, gives him a whack. They're calling for medical help for Steve Moore.
It was disgusting.
There's no need for that.
This was premeditated, you know? This is the worst thing I've seen.
Premeditated, because 3 weeks ago, that same Steve Moore put this hit on Canucks captain Marcus Naslund, knocking Vancouver's leading scorer out for 3 games with a concussion.
There's payback, but you know, that's not back there. I mean, that's going overboard.
Ultimately, Bertuzzi's hit will rank with some of the most infamous in NHL history. In 1996, Colorado's Claude Lemieux put a vicious check on the Red Wings' Chris Draper, putting Draper face first into the boards in decisive Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals. The traditional handshakes at the end of the game brought about this memorable quote by the Red Wings' Dino Ciccarelli.
I can't believe I shook this guy's friggin' hand after the game. That pisses me right off.
Lemieux was suspended for the first 2 games of the Stanley Cup Finals. Ciccarelli had his own problems with the Minnesota North Stars back in 1988 when he was sentenced to 1 day in jail after hitting the Leafs' Luke Richardson in the helmet twice with his stick. In another playoff scrape, Toronto's Ty Domi was suspended 11 games for this elbow to the Devils' Scott Niedermayer in Game 4 of the 2001 Eastern Conference Semis. Avs coach Tony Granato was irate Monday night, but back in 1994, when he was with the Kings, Granato was suspended 15 games for slashing Chicago's Neil Wilkinson. Brad May got one of the NHL's longest suspensions for this slash from behind on Columbus's Steve Hines' face. May sat for 20 games.
Bergeron scores! And he got decked by Dale Hunter.
21 games was what Washington Capital Dale Hunter got after his cheap shot on Pierre Turgeon, after Turgeon scored for the Islanders in the 1993 playoffs against the Caps.
Oh, McSorley slashed Brashear and caught him in the helmet.
The longest suspension belongs to Marty McSorley, who was handed a 23-game suspension for using his stick to whack the Canucks' Donald Brashear on the head back in February of 2000. Later that year, McSorley was found guilty in a British Columbia court for assault with a weapon. Brashear's teammate Todd Bertuzzi offered his opinion on the incident that very night.
What can you really say? It's disgusting what happened, and it's unfortunate, and the league's got to do something about it.
NHL analyst